And we are live. What's up, Finlit Live family? This is Darnold Jr., your favorite insurance agent. Today is September 11th, 2021. So it's actually been 20 years since 9/11 happened. So I actually wanted to start off the show a little bit differently and take a moment of silence for those that lost family members in their lives, especially the firefighters that were running towards the towers. And so let's take a couple seconds of silence and remember and pray for those that lost loved ones. All right. Well, I'm actually really excited about today's topic. I think this is something that could benefit most people, and that's how to increase your credit score. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get lit. Okay, so for today's guest, I have Kathy Meade, and she is an expert on credit scores. Like I just had we actually had a couple hour conversation, but I was blown away about the knowledge that she had about credit scores and how to increase and improve your credit score. So without any further ado, let's bring her on. Hey, Kathy.
Hi, Donald. How are you?
I'm well. How about you?
I am blessed. I'm blessed and trust you are.
Good. Yeah, God's grace is sufficient for sure.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
welcome to FinLit Live. So I'm going to be able to ask you a couple questions, and then we're going to open it up to the audience, and they're going to be able to ask their questions. So if you have any questions, definitely type it in the chat. So before we get started, go ahead and introduce yourself. Who you are, where you from, what are you up to?
All right. My name is Kathy Meade. I am originally from North Carolina. We've been here in Texas about 7 years. And I am the owner and founder of Laverne and Co. Consulting. We do credit restoration. We help start business credit. We help business formation. We help build credit. And for all of those, we try to help ensure that you are secure in your financial journey as far as financial literacy and reaching financial goals, lifetime dreams. So that's pretty much
Excellent.
what we do.
That's exciting. How long have you been in business now?
I've officially been in business for 2 years, but I've been doing this for 19 years.
19 years. So you're just getting your feet wet,
19
right?
years. Slightly.
Just slightly. Excellent.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and dive in. So I hear you have some tips and tricks for us as far as credit scores are concerned. We'll just go
I
ahead and open it up
do.
broadly, and then I'll ask you a couple questions if I have any questions.
Okay, good deal. So what I teach my clients is when they come to me, it's not so much about credit score optimization. You have to ensure that you have a strong credit profile. And basically the tips that I teach them to get them started immediately is 5 is the sweet spot. The reason I say 5 is the sweet spot because without it you are considered a risky lender, risky borrower. Does that take you out of the risky borrower category overnight? No, it doesn't. But have 5 good accounts that you have not been late on within a 24-month time frame. No late payments and accounts that are in good standings all the time for at least 24 months. It builds a strong credit profile. That's why I'm always amazed, and others are always amazed when some people can go to the car lot and get a car, and their credit score is 550, and then somebody who has a credit score of 700 can go to the same car lot and get denied. Why? It's not so much about credit score, it's about credit profile. So that's a great tip to get started. 5 good accounts will pretty much help you build a score that you maintain. For 2, if you are going to buy something, especially a home or a car, those 5 good accounts, they need not be paid off. Meaning, even if you have a $25 per month payment, you still need to be paying on something in good standings when you go and sit down in front of the mortgage lender or an auto finance place till you buy a car. Why? Because they cannot see your habits if everything is at a zero balance because you've paid off everything. So that's the number 2 tips that I think, 2 of the tips that have really helped my clients along the way. And thirdly, no more than 2 accounts within a 6-month time frame. It's up and down, all the time about how many accounts that you should apply for within a 12-month time frame. The golden rule for excellent credit is no more than 3 inquiries within a 24-month time frame. But if you're not there yet and you still want to be in the good credit status, no more than 2 accounts within a 6-month time frame. So that means 4 accounts per year. Because you don't want all the extra inquiries, because extra inquiries and all these unnecessary applications that you may get denied for makes you look desperate in the eyes of creditors.
Excellent. So what I hear is have five is the sweet spot.
Yes.
So have 5 good accounts
Yes.
for at least 24 months.
Yes.
And so what if somebody is already down in the hole as far as their credit is concerned and they can't open or have 5 good accounts? Like, where do they start if they can't even open 5 accounts?
Well, I mean, to the average person, they think that that's not possible. Now, the credit builders that we use to enhance your credit score to get you on the right track of the 5s is a sweet spot. We help you start credit builders. You have to be really kind of have really bad credit if you can't get those. I've had somebody come to me with their credit score at 386. She's with me for 3 months, and when she left, her credit score was 686. And I think she would agree with me for me to share this story that she didn't think she could get anything either, but we were able to get her credit builders. And credit builders, remember, there's no credit check when you're trying to do the appropriate credit builders. So you will lose points for opening up new accounts, but you really won't lose points because there is no credit check, but it does report to all 3 credit bureaus.
Excellent. And what exactly is a credit builder?
A credit builder is just that. It builds your credit profile. It shows that they are giving you a chance. A secured credit card would be considered as a credit builder. Just, you have to be on time with it and pay it. Most of them renew it and look at your credit limit within a 6-month time frame. Some of them will. Most of them is a year, but a lot of them now have gone to looking at your credit in 6 months to see if you are worthy of a credit score increase or a credit limit increase. And if not, you can always away because a secured card, you just add money and then it'll raise your credit limit. But my goal is to get you away from that. Sometimes you have to start that way, but the annual goal to that is not have any where you have to pay and get a credit card. I want your profile to be strong enough where you can get the credit on your own without collateral.
That's awesome. And so the second point was don't pay off the card. I mean, pay off the card. Don't pay off the card 100%, but keep a balance on it continuously. So, like, how
Well, let
much of
me
a
correct
balance?
that.
Okay,
Yeah, let me correct that. Now I toyed with that because my company is based on biblical principles. So I was going between, do I carry a small balance or do I not? And some people do and some people don't. I choose not to carry a balance because I just feel like if you spend it, what I had for the last 2 years for my credit card, and I have good credit, thank God, but it took a lot of work. But I did trial and error. I carried a small balance, and then I was like, I'm not sure. So I had to turn biblically and figure it out. So even the Lord doesn't want you to pay interest. So that is what I go by. But I disagree with carrying a balance. My philosophy is for me to have good credit and for what I teach. I feel like if you are going to spend more than the 30% utilization rate, which is recommended, then don't carry a balance and try to pay it off. I would never max out a credit card if I didn't have the intentions of paying it all the way down to zero by the time the statement closing date came at the end of the month.
excellent. So you
Yeah.
recommend not carrying a balance then?
I do not recommend carrying a balance. Some said, yes, if you carry a small balance, it gives the credit card companies an opportunity to make a little bit of interest off of it. So they deem the relationship with you worthy because they're making a few dollars interest. But I just don't see the point of that because I think the good credit history and the payment history outweighs them trying to get a few bucks for interest. So I just teach zero balance.
Absolutely. So what is your take on these reward cards where, like, if you swipe, then they give you points for airline or for mileage or money back? Like, what is your take on the rewards credit cards?
I think that should be the ultimate credit card. I think all of us should want to achieve those type of cards because you do get rewards. I mean, and the better your credit, the stronger the rewards are. I mean, most of them you see are 1 to 3%, which is pretty significant because once you are swiping the card all the time, it's a little bit safer because you're not swiping your debit card. You're not really making any money on your debit card. So if you get those reward cards and you're using them to take care of all your purchases or what have you, then it's basically free money. You have to pay it back, but at the same time, you're kind of rewarding yourself. So I definitely think that reward cards and per annual free cards, so you don't have to pay an annual fee every year to maintain the card or to use the card is the ultimate goal. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get those letters in the mail all the time, like open this card, take out this loan, open this card. I guess that's what happens when
Yeah.
you have good credit, right? um,
Absolutely.
but I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah,
That's
one of the
okay.
things you do have to pay attention though is if they do have an annual fee or not. And so you got to really look in the details, and it's usually on the back of the page in fine print, whether
Yeah,
it charges you on an annual basis or not. And
it
so,
does.
and what is your take on getting the 0% offers? Like if they have a 24-month 0% or 15-month 0% or 6-month 0%, will you recommend like transferring a balance to one of those if you had the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good because you don't want to pay APR. I mean, some of the APRs for the people that don't have such good credit, I mean, I've seen it as high as 32%, which is ridiculous. But if you learn to pay off your credit card by a specific date, then it does matter about the APR because what if the time comes that you can't pay for it, and you get stuck with the APR. But if you learn when to pay the credit card off, you'll never be stuck with the interest anyway. But of course, we all want single digits if we can get it, anywhere from 0 to 3 or 4 would be excellent. But 0% interest is 24 months. That's really good. I would just say, stay within your utilization rate. Try really hard not to carry to carry a balance and keep it at 0 at all times. And then, of course, every 24 months, you want them to renew that. And if you have balances that are on cards that have higher APR, absolutely, I would transfer it. Just don't put all your eggs in one basket. So try to have multiple because that shows them that you're able to manage multiple accounts and you're being on time. So that's why you get those offers of 0% interest and all that stuff. So for sure.
Absolutely. And then your third tip was no more than opening 2 accounts in a 6-month time frame, and then
Yes.
4 accounts in a year. It's all about inquiries. Inquiries is a huge part of your credit score, isn't it?
It is. It is because it shows that if you get too much, it just looks like you're just shopping around just because. And it really presents that you have no judgment because you're like, oh my gosh, I get this card, I can get that, and I can get this account. It just shows that you're just maxing out everything because creditors really do look at that when you have a bunch of inquiries. But I think people stress about inquiries far too much. Now, if you have 50 accounts on your credit and you have 50 inquiries on there, then the accounts justify the inquiries. The problem is if you have inquiries and you have 10 accounts, we have a problem because you
Mm.
look like you are just shopping for any and everything. So that's the importance of only opening up more, just within a 6-month time frame because it shows you have judgment and nobody wants to purposely go in debt, buy all these credit cards and furniture and all these things when you don't have to. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so this is a tip I heard a while ago for people that have young kids, is
Mhm.
to have the kids added to their accounts if they have a good credit score to help build the kids' credit. What is your take on that?
I think it's an excellent idea. Why? Because young people are told, I don't think they're taught in schools really detailed information about credit. I call it credit shenanigans 101. And I don't think I don't think a lot of young people know that. So I spend a lot of time being reactive versus proactive. So if the parents are more apt or uncles or grandparents, what have you, has good credit on a card, not the entire credit profile. If you have 2 credit cards on there, that's excellent. You've never been late. The APR is great. You always carry a 0 balance or most of the time a really low balance. I would say add that child because when that child becomes 18 years old, they come into the system with a very low credit score. It's just enough. high enough to put them in the system. I've seen NA, I've seen up to 4, I've seen as high as 8, but that's it. And it's like a clean slate. I get excited about that because I know how to help them build it. But some people are like, oh my gosh, I have no credit. So then they go and try to get cars and credit cards and all this. But you have to remember, what does the creditor have to go by to show that you have any kind of paying habits or anything? So I think authorized user is excellent. I don't agree that they should get the card all the time, but at the same time, if the payment history is great, let them bounce off of your score, because you can take them off at any time that you like. They just have to remember their score will drop. So I think people get wrapped up in, I'm just going to use this authorized user stuff forever and ever. I teach credit profile. So if I'm riding on your credit card for your score, my job is to build while I am on your account. And then if something happens and you pass away, or you close that account, or you lose your job, or what have you, it won't be a total dependency the entire time. It's stay with it a little while, build your own credit, and then move on. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's awesome. And do you happen to know what's the earliest a cake can be added?
Yes, it's I've seen 14, I believe. I have a list of how early they start, and I think the earliest that I've seen is 14 possibly, but definitely for sure for 15. And it's different credit cards they can be added. And I mean, and then by the time they turn 18, they already have 3 and 4 year history, so that's really good.
Man, I wish my parents would have known this.
I wish mine would have known it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things we talked about when I met with you in person is about the Nexus Lexus for car
Mhm.
insurance. And uh, how is that? How does your credit score and car insurance and rates, how does all that correlate with each other?
Okay, so Lexus Nexus is like your information hub. Like every address that you've ever lived at, every apartment that you've ever had, every time if you've ever had cars repoed or whatever, everything is in this Lexus Nexus. It's basically your life history. Every insurance policy that you've had, changed, canceled, violations of apartments, all these things are in this Lexus Nexus hub. So it's really big. Now, how it ties into the insurance, because insurance companies pull your Lexus Nexus and it shows them all of that stuff. I don't know how true it is as far as the rates with, because I froze my Lexus Nexus on purpose. A lot of people don't do that, but I froze it because I wanted them to give me rates based on, my driving record and for within the area and all this stuff, not for what you think that I've done. So I personally freeze mine. Some people say it's true, some people say it's not. For me, I went from, I have an older car that I have liability on, and I went from $99 to $25 a month on
What?
liability, and I was paying that for a little while, and I have an excellent driving record, but I kept wondering, why was I having to pay so much? So I did do the Lexus Nexus trick. For me, it worked, but it ties into your credit because you do have an insurance credit score.
Hmm.
People don't realize that, but you do have an insurance credit score. So if you get tickets and fines and all this stuff, all of that stuff plays a part in your insurance score. So they're going to give you rates based on that. So that's why it's important, to keep up your insurance, pay it, try not to get fines and that kind of stuff. And I personally would freeze my Lexus Nexus. I just do.
And how do you go about doing that? Do you just go to their website and say freeze it, or do you call them?
Well, I think you can call, but I think you can do it online. I did all of mine online, and they'll give you pins. You have to keep those pin numbers, and then you can freeze it. But you can unfreeze it anytime you want. But Lexus Nexus, just how it sounds, LexusNexus.com, and then has an option where you can freeze it.
This is awesome. This is so valuable. And speaking
Thank
of the
you.
different credit scores, I don't think most people realize that there's a whole bunch of different types of credit scores. Like you have one for your mortgage, you have one for the cars, you have one for your credit cards. Like talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that and educate us on like how many, I don't know if you know the total. I bet there's too many to count, but the different types of
Mhm.
credit scores.
Okay, so the two most important, and I'll give you that. Well, one of them is they're called Vantage scores, and the other one is FICO scores. So we hear so much about FICO scores, and we hear so much about Vantage scores. So I'll give an example so people will understand. So I had a client; they were going to buy a house, And he was, they were beside the realtor or what have you. And the realtor was like, oh, I think this is great. Your scores are high enough. I think you should be good. But I could not get him to understand that those were Vantage scores. I like to call Vantage scores surface scores, which mean
Mm,
nothing when you get ready to sit down in front of a mortgage lender or an auto finance person or dealership, because that's not what they're looking at. And I think Vantage scores are for people to kind of know where they are as far as their credit. But the key to that is your Vantage scores can be anywhere from 80 to 120 points higher than your FICO score. So
wow.
yeah, you're looking at Credit Karma and people get upset because they say Credit Karma is not accurate. Yeah, they're pretty accurate with TransUnion, but I would not look at Credit Karma and say, well, I'm going to buy a house today. No, I would look at FICO. So keep in mind that Identity IQ, Credit Karma, those are all Vantage scores, just for you to kind of
Mm,
know where you are, what's on your credit, and that kind of deal. Now,
mhm,
FICO scores are the real deal. FICO
mm,
scores, there's so many of them. There's a FICO 2, a FICO 8, a FICO 10, and all these different
mhm.
things. So when you pull your FICO score, most of them, I think it's on myfico.com, and it'll show you. You can click on automobile, and it'll say what your FICO score is. So when you do sit down in front of the dealership, you're looking at what they're looking at, because now you kind of know that you can get a car, even though Credit Karma says you're at 690. When they go pull your FICO score, it could be 580 for all you know.
Wow.
And then you're upset because, oh, Identity IQ and Credit Karma said my score is this, but FICO is what every dealer and every mortgage lender goes by. So that's the difference right there. Vantage scores, use that if you're doing DIY credit repair, if you kind of just want to kind of in the know and all of that stuff about what literally is on your credit, how long it's been on there, that kind of stuff. Pull your FICO reports. It is a little bit more expensive. It's about $41, I think, to pull all three, but it's very legit and it's the real deal. So if you get denied on FICO, then we got a problem.
That's when they come talk to you, right?
Exactly. And I promote FICO. So absolutely. That's the
Awesome.
difference.
Well, do you have a story about one of your clients that you did help that did have a low score and where they started and where they are now because you were able to help them?
Yeah, it's always very humbling to me because I help a lot of people, single parents. I've helped. That seems to be kind of my target audience, not single moms either, in general, and they've been in apartments for a very long time because, for one, they're afraid of the process, and for two, they don't understand the process. So this particular woman, she has an eye disease, and she is actually in school for psychology, and she knows that she's going to go blind in, maybe 10 or 15 years. So she came to me. She had been with a credit repair company for 2 years, she said. And I think when she came to me, she was in the low fours. She started in January, and she said, oh my gosh, Miss Kathy, nobody can seem to get this off. It's not moving. There are 10 collections, and once you do credit repair, you understand that there's a lot of major collection agencies that can kind of give you a hard time. So you just kind of have to know the consumer laws in order for it to benefit both of you. But she came to me. I know it was a low four-ish, close to five, and she had the money and everything saved up for a down payment. But she's in the military, so of course she's had a GI Bill that she can access. But she just couldn't get past it, and I felt really bad for her because she was paying twice of what she was paying me, twice the
Mm,
rate per month. And this company, I don't. They are. She said that they were only able to remove maybe like 3 items. She started with
wow.
me in January. We got her all cleaned up by April, and she actually picked out her house a month ago, and they're building it as we speak. So she is at now, I think, six. And we only have one collection left on her credit, but she's able to build, and she has 2 children. So, and for the record, this house she got approved for $420,000, um, which
Wow,
is
that's
really
exciting.
good for a single parent. And she's been in this apartment for, I think she told me, 7 years.
Wow, I bet she was really ready to get out that, especially with the coronavirus. And being a single
Oh
mom is like,
yeah,
I need some space from these kiddos.
I have all these housewarming parties that I have to show up with wine, so that we can celebrate. But it never
Hey,
gets old to me. It's very humbling,
that's a
very
good
humbling.
problem to have.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you do amazing things for a lot of great people. And so how can they get a hold of you if they need help? How can they reach out to you?
My website is actually being rebuilt as we speak, but it's the same as my company, Laverne and Co. Consulting.com, two N's on the Laverne. My phone number is 346-243-2164. I'm also on Facebook as well as Instagram. So, and you can email me, Kathy at LaverneandCoConsulting.com. I'm happy to help anytime.
Excellent. Well, you shared so much valuable information, and I hope
Thank
just the pointers would help somebody's credit score go up.
I
All
hope
because,
so.
yeah, and if they want to exponentially expedite that process, definitely have them reach out to you, right? And you could
Absolutely.
make it happen.
Absolutely.
So, well, I appreciate you for being on the show, and
Thank you for
I know you
having
have
me.
a ton of other projects going on. Like she gave me this spray. She's starting a company. It was a spray to deodorize my bathroom, and it's sitting in my bathroom right now, and it absolutely works lovely. So if you need
Thank
any bathroom spray, reach out to Kathy. And she has a lot of other things going on too. But we'll have her back on the show so she could share some of our other projects. And so thank you
Awesome.
once again for being on the show and look forward to having you in the future.
Thank you so much for having. Absolutely, I look forward to it.
Absolutely. So if you got any value out of today's show, definitely go ahead and like and share this with other people that may be struggling with their credit score. Also, go to youtube.com, type in Finlit Live, and subscribe to the YouTube station because we're going to have a lot more valuable information about like this. So the purpose of Finlit Live, Finlit stands for financial literacy. And growing up, I feel like my parents didn't teach me about financial literacy, and it wasn't. I went to Baylor and I have a business degree from Baylor, and I still feel like they didn't teach personal finances. And so that's the purpose of the show. I'm an expert in insurance, so that's my expertise. So what I do is I invite other guests on that are experts in their specific field, and I'll ask them questions, and I open it up to the audience so where you guys can ask questions to. And so definitely tune in the future. We usually have these on Saturdays live at 5 Central Standard Time. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And if you are watching this live, go ahead in the chat, type in hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay, and let's get lit.